se, jag måste ha upp den här.
Men,
Kör nu. Vadå? Hade du något sånt innan?
Nej, men alltså jag kanske inte kan, jag vet inte hur utförligt jag kommer kunna prata hela tiden. Så du får gärna, om du märker att jag säger något kort, får du gärna hoppa in och ställa nästa fråga.
Ja, men du kommer inte vara Ingemar Stenmark. Så att det är... Jag vet inte om du har hört det på Ingemar Stenmarks intervjuer. Han säger liksom, ja. Han säger ingenting. Så att jag kan intervjua. Det här blir ju ett snack, så det blir inget problem. Det kommer att gå bra.
Ja.
Vi kör på. Welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. I'm Jacob Dahlin, your host. Today we have NCAA Nebraska commit and BCHL player Marcus Broberg. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we're going to have to test your... we're not going to speak Canadian here. Not that there is a Canadian, but you're on the other side now in British Columbia. Tell us where you are.
I'm in Salmon Arm. It's like the left side of the Rocky Mountains, British Columbia.
Yeah.
Middle in the forest, pretty much.
Yeah. So for those a lot of people in Sweden, this is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to talk to you. And, I found you because of we're doing a series here of players that played in the NAL, in the North American Hockey League or US juniors. But then just like Gabbe Westling that we had on, now playing in BCHL. So really want to dive into BCHL. And for those who don't know what BCHL is all about, but kind of unique part about your history is that probably the only Swede anyway that's played in the USHL, now BCHL, and also the North American Hockey League. So we joked a little bit offline here about if there's anyone that should know the differences between the leagues, it will be you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see about that. It's hard to put words to it, but I'll do my best to describe it.
So, but let's back the tape a little bit. Grew up, I guess, in Örebro, is that right? Or outside of Örebro?
Yeah, grew up in Örebro.
Yep. And I know, of course, you got a little bit of a famous brother, a couple of years older, that plays for Edmonton now, right?
Yeah.
What's that like to follow? Is there more than the two of you? Or talk about your family a little bit.
No, it's just me and my brother, Philip, and mom and dad.
Yep.
So
is your dad a hockey guy or?
I mean, he played hockey when he grew up, but never like on a professional level. More like for fun.
Yeah.
For a fun hobby.
Yeah.
And my mother, she plays soccer.
Okay. So athletic background, both.
Yeah, you can say so.
Also.
I would more say like an interest in hockey more than like a athletic background. But
yeah. And for those who don't know, for the U.S. audience or Canadian audience, Örebro, explain where Örebro is.
Oh, I'm bad at geographic, but I would say like 2 hours west-south of Stockholm.
Yeah. So I think of Örebro as almost it's not really truth, but I think consider Örebro the center of Sweden, even though it's more south than if you look at Sweden as very north-south tall country. But when, and if you travel from Gothenburg, the second largest city in the world, in Sweden, to Stockholm, you go through Örebro, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really don't have much experience. I left when I was 18, so I can't say that I know much about Örebro. But anyway, but interestingly, so of course you played. We just finished the TV Puck qualifying rounds last weekend, and you played for Örebro there. But then you didn't stay there for Hockey Gymnasium.
No. Yeah, we thought it would be a better decision to go to Stockholm, to AIK. I mean, they have a great setup with their junior program and like just the on-ice stuff. They offer a lot of ice time, we felt like, and of course, my brother moved there a year before me, and he lived by himself. And we thought it would be great if we, as a family, could live together one last year before. I mean, he was gonna head off to wherever he was going, and who knew where my career was gonna go. So
Yeah.
we just thought it would be a great move, and it also just worked out with my parents' jobs. So
But were they still living at home in Örebro, or did they move to Stockholm as well?
no, they moved as well. The whole
Okay.
family moved together, so we could live together one last year.
Because I think that that's a little bit of a what I've heard. You know, lots and lots of hockey options in Stockholm with great teams and great, especially juniors. But one of the problems that they have is housing. If someone from the outside is coming in,
Yeah.
so but if I'm looking up your elite prospects there, so you played. So you must have moved there when you were, was that first year U16 or when you were 15 then, or was that the second year?
Yeah, my supposed to be U16 season.
Yeah.
The year before going into gymnasium, we moved
Okay.
to Stockholm.
Yep. And then Philip was already, was he still, so he was still there in hockey gymnasium in AIK then?
Yeah, he
Yep.
moved there. I don't know exactly know when, but the year before me. I don't know
Yeah.
what timeline that is for him.
So what was in AIK, what's the rink that they play in?
It's a Ritorp.
Okay.
It's in Solna.
Yeah.
It's
Is
like
that one of the ones that is the old rink, or is that one of the newer ones there?
their facility is in the newer ones, but they also have like the youth programs. AIK is in the older rink,
Okay.
so they kind of go in between all those rinks, just like where they can find ice times and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a very packed rink actually. Like there's like a Solna AIK. It's a new organization that's also taking up ice time there, and a lot of figure skating as well. So
Okay. Great. Yeah, and it's a so did you think about that too? Because so at that time was because they've not been in the SHL for a while, but I think that that's kind of an advantage for juniors when they're playing in Allsvenskan and you're coming in. They still have a great facilities, great culture, great staff, and the ability to go into juniors and then play yourself up. And the jump to the SHL, you know, I'm from Leksand, and it's hard to get into hockey gymnasium, play J18, J20, and SHL. Not very many people, frankly, do that. I mean, it's maybe 2 or 3 from each team, you know, each birth year that have the opportunity to jump up. So did you
yeah,
think about
definitely.
that? I mean, was that the plan from is that this just kind of, I want to make it into the SHL, or were you already thinking North America back then?
No, back then it was definitely just trying to take one step at a time and make it to the AIK pro team, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think it's very good for a young player to go to Allsvenskan team, because then, as you said, it's not as big of a step, and also it's important that the facilities are good and that the program is good. Like more about the training, I would say, is what came down. Like when I decided, it was more about like the program, making sure the like you get the best progress in your development and
Yep.
stuff.
Yep. So because you know, I've heard stories about your brother that he's a physical, you know, he worked out a lot off ice.
Yeah.
Was that kind of how, did they put a lot of emphasis on that at AIK, or is that just something that you guys, I'm assuming that you kind of follow that mentality?
Yeah. It's definitely engraved in our in our family, I would say, in the household.
Yeah.
It's kind of our culture at home. Like we like to see ourselves as the ones that work the hardest. Never leave anything like to chance,
Yeah.
and make sure that you always give your all, and like never yeah, there's not another option.
Yeah.
You
How was that in hockey gymnasium? Because I mean, from a moving there 15, 16 and then going in, how much emphasis did you put um on off ice development and versus just skill on the ice?
Yeah, definitely a lot because I know how hard my brother works, and like we always work out together and stuff. So we definitely we push each other.
Yeah. All right. So, and then you get to AIK, one of the top programs in juniors, both 18s and J20. Tough competition. You pull up the roster there, both from the first year J20 and second year J20, and draft picks in the NHL and tough competition. So it had a little bit of a setback there, right? I'm reading between the lines here because you're moving over to Malmö your last year.
Yeah,
How was that?
I mean, yeah, definitely a tough competition. That's what you want to see. You want to
Yes.
compete every day, every practice, because otherwise it's hard to improve.
Yeah.
But definitely had a setback. Didn't really go as planned that year. Started off good, but kind of fell back a bit.
Yeah.
But so I felt a move would be the right play at that time. So and Malmö was a great fit. Talked to the coaches and everything, and heard good words about the program and facilities. So
Yep.
well, yeah, and looking back at it, also I'm definitely happy I made that decision.
Yeah, talk about that move in terms of the ability to then, we talked a little bit offline, and the ability to move, fresh start, and you get right in and get to practice with the men's team. And what does that do to your development and your confidence as a defenseman?
Yeah, it definitely made me like take steps because I had to, of course, you always get like you react to your environment, and if everyone's faster, stronger, and moves the puck quicker, you're also gonna adapt. So definitely made me realize that there's a lot more steps to my game that I can take, and just like some easy stuff. So just to just realize that the game is quicker and it's supposed to be played quicker, and that definitely made me take steps in my development.
So, and before I move on to in gymnasium, so when you moved, and that was probably the year after COVID, right? Is that right?
Mm,
Or 2 years after?
yeah, the year
How
after COVID.
how was school then? I mean, because you were moving in the middle of the school year, I'm assuming. Was
Yeah,
that your last year of gymnasium?
yeah,
So how
it
did that,
was.
were you able to transfer programs without a problem?
Yeah, I had to. I mean, because every like course in gymnasium has a different timeline of what time they do different courses
Yep.
throughout that program. So I had to like switch between different classes
Yeah.
and just go to different like programs all the time. So
Yeah.
it definitely. I don't think it was that big of a hassle, but it definitely was like it was a bit annoying.
Yeah.
But I mean, I for me it was like. At that time, like in the beginning of the last year of gymnasium, I was more focused about just hockey. Did I haven't really paid that much attention to school
Yeah.
throughout the years, but definitely realized because it was at that time when I moved to Malmö that I was like, okay, so next year we're trying to go to USHL. So, and then to get that college commitment, so we were like, okay, I have to step the grades up here.
So I'm curious about that too. So when you first went into gymnasium, s- you know, a lot of players, hockey players, choose the easy route and go more of a vocational route and say, I'm going to do construction or whatever. What, and you went into kind of the social sciences. What was that, because you were already knew, hey, if I want to go play college? Or how is that? I mean, it's hard to do as a 15, 16-year-old. You're not thinking about that as much, right?
Yeah, so it's actually a fun story because in Solna Gymnasium, it's a very high acceptance rate for the social science program. I don't know, like if you know about merit point.
So I'm not, because I didn't get any. So it's how would you translate that? But it's almost like credits, college
It's like,
credit in a way, right?
yeah, kind of. It's like if you have a C, you have like 250 points or something.
Yeah.
I think the acceptance rate for social science was like 285 or something, and I had like 255. So I had to go to barn och fritid. I don't know what that is in English,
Okay. So so it's more
but
the child care program.
yeah, exactly. But so I had to go into that, unfortunately. But then we talked to the school, and like we told them, like, because I think it was my mom that pushed for it and was like, yeah, you're not gonna go that type of program. You like, because if you want to, so they've always like thought about. I mean, school is important. Like, it's not that hard to just be there in class and just listen and get a good grade,
Yeah.
or an average grade at least.
And the joke, I mean, when we were, of course, this was over 30 years ago for me, or more. Yeah, 30, 35 years ago. But the joke was, if you wanted a cakewalk academically, the guys went into construction, and if you want a cakewalk, if you're a female, you go barn and fritid, which is children and whatever, however you may translate it into. So that's interesting that your mom was like, no, you're not going to get a cakewalk. You could do better.
Yeah.
But that was
Definitely.
only, let's be frank then, that was only because you had the competition was really tough at that school. If you would have went to another gymnasium somewhere, you may have gotten into social sciences right away.
Yeah, I probably would have gotten into it straight away.
Yeah.
I don't know, Solna Gymnasium have very high grades acceptance for some reason. But
Yeah.
so but then I was able to switch to social studies instead. So that I was very fortunate that was
and I mean,
that was the case.
Yeah, that's an important part, though. I mean, if you wouldn't have done that, you wouldn't have been as attractive, or as you would have to study more classes in preparation to go to college.
Yeah, definitely.
So what about, after the year, so when did you start thinking about US juniors? I know you have an advisor. You worked with Randy for a while, and your brother Philip has too. So did that help? Of course, he went a different route because he was a first-round draft pick. But so did he never went to juniors in the US, right?
No.
Because he played SHL, and then he went over and played AHL, is what I remember looking at. So when did you start thinking about US juniors?
I would say, like, the first time I heard about it was like before the last gymnasium year.
Okay.
So like the year where I moved to Malmö.
Okay.
First J20 year. So that's when I heard about the first time, like before the season. I think it was like one of like the advisors, maybe, like, because I didn't really see myself being able to get a pro contract after J20, or at least not being certain of getting it.
Yes.
And it's also like you always see the young defensemen getting into the troop, getting a contract, but they never get the ice time. And they always just go up and down in the lineup and kind of just get stuck in that one place. But because we always felt like college is the best, it's definitely the best route for an offensive defenseman.
Why is that for you? Or why do you say that?
Especially for me being very late developed, I feel like it gives me extra time to focus on my physical strength and being able to develop my own, like, craft my own game there. And it gives me more time to just focus on developing, compete against the best, and also getting used to, like, because I want to play in North America, like, of course. So
yep,
you got to get used to that rink size also.
Yep.
But it's a different type of play over here.
The alternative is to play Hockeyettan.
Yeah.
Or Allsvenskan, maybe, but even Allsvenskan is a huge jump from J20.
Yeah, exactly.
And no, and that's part of what I mean, I think I've been pretty transparent with my thoughts on, I think that there's a huge opportunity to do exactly what you're doing for other Swedes that really could do it if they knew more about it. And there's a huge interest from the junior leagues in the US and now Canada, which we'll talk about later, for Swedish players. But and frankly, the biggest reason I started the podcast was they don't have a clue about anything about Swedish juniors. They don't know the different leagues. They don't know if they're interested in coming. They don't know how it translates of playing. The leagues are so different. The style of play is so different, but they know there's a lot of skilled players. So how did it work? You ended up with, did you start with Waterloo or Omaha?
Omaha, and then Waterloo.
Then Waterloo. So yeah, within the same year, it's interesting to hear kind of your story about, it's a business too, right? Were you drafted or were you tendered or did you come over for camp with Omaha?
I was drafted to Omaha.
So you were all Omaha, and a little bit of difference when you're drafted in the USHL compared to the NOL. You could be drafted in the North American Hockey League and still have to fight it out at camp. If you're drafted in the USHL, you're guaranteed to be on the roster, right?
No.
I thought that's how it was in the USHL. Or did you still have to go to main camp and fight it out?
Yeah, I had to go to the main camp, and then he just told me that I didn't have to come to 40-man camp. I could just show up for the training camp.
Yeah, I see.
And at that point, I knew that I had a spot. But no, but that's not actually true either, because all the cuts weren't made when we came to training camp either. It was like 4 guys more that had to go. So it's like it's the same right now in the team I'm playing now. Like I think we're 30 guys or something right now. We got to get down to like 25 or something.
Yeah.
And
so did you know that
we're done with this? Well,
did you know that ahead of time? So when you went to training camp and you're seeing like, wow, there's 12D here or 10D.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I knew that. So it's very different from Swedish hockey. You gotta fight for the spot here. It's one like everyone's gotta fight for their own playing time.
Yeah, which isn't very Swedish. I mean, everybody has a spot in Sweden. Everybody gets a trophy and everybody gets playing time and so on and so forth. Does that kind of inspire you with this system that you're going to fight for it? And it's, a little bit of an attitude of this is my spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an attitude to adapt to.
Yeah.
I would say that last year, I definitely was a bit shocked. Like, I was like, oh, this is how it's run here. You have to kind of just you gotta be more like take the space a bit more and kind of show that you have to be the man. But like in Sweden, it's more like I feel like it's more everyone is in the team. Like you know you're a part of the team. You know you're gonna play if you just do decent.
Yeah.
Here's like, oh, if you don't have a good practice, you might not play. Like they'll tell you that before the practice. And you'll have the biggest anxiety ever before the practice.
Yeah. So what was it like then to get there? Because I'm assuming you had a billet family then in Omaha.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because you're used to living by yourself or living at home.
Yeah.
And then you come over there and now you're going to have to, how many people were in your billet house? How many players?
Just me and another guy.
Okay.
So we were 2, and then they had 3 kids.
Okay. What was that like? I mean, was that I've heard lots of different stories, not everybody has a good experience with their billets.
I mean, it's so up to like what billets you end up with.
Yeah.
Like I would say the billet I'm in right now is awesome. Like so I have no problems. It's great. I'm super happy. But then like you could end up with some other billets like that just doesn't make good food. They don't really like take the time. I mean, I've heard some bad stories. There's plenty of bad stories of like the food they get served, and like just some guys have to like share a room, and like you have no privacy with some billets. Yeah, it's you got to be lucky, or you got to be like you got to make sure when you get here that you get a good billet. Like you talk to coaches, or you have someone talking for you.
Yeah. So you were there with another Swede, Max. Was he in the same billet house or was he somewhere else?
He was somewhere else.
Okay, so you had an American. So I've talked to some other guys that were like, "Oh yeah, it worked really good because I had another Swede there, and it was we're going through at the same time." You're coming in, you're being the outside guy, uh, and so on. But how was it then in the beginning? I mean, you get there in the locker room and you're looking to your right and you're looking to the left and you're like, these are my teammates, but it's also my competition.
I mean, but that's like how it always is, though. So
Yeah,
that's not really different. But it's just like it's more obvious, though. It's definitely like everyone knows that you're fighting for the spot, and like people like might call people out and stuff. It's more, it's just very different, the attitude and mentality.
and I'm also looking at so that year was a mixture of 02s and 03. So you were not the youngest, you were not the oldest. Of course, when you compare NOL and the USHL, much younger league in the USHL than it is in the NOL.
Yeah.
So you were one of the older guys with being an 03. If you're looking around the room, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
So all right, obligatory question. How was the difference? What was the first impression when you got there in training camp versus J20 National, but also you practice with the men in the SHL with Malmö.
Yeah.
What was I mean, you always hear about the USHL being extremely skilled, but it is smaller rink. So give us your analysis of it or opinion.
I gotta say I'm very lucky that I had that many men's team practices with Malmö, because that definitely helped me with the tempo change.
Yeah.
But I mean, USHL is a lot faster than J20. It's a much better league. Like it's very hard to compare.
Yeah. I mean, it is arguably the best. I mean, you could talk about WHLQ and OHL in Canada as, which one's the best, but USHL is very, very good.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, USHL is up on that level with those leagues. The only difference is that those leagues have just some, like a bit more superstars.
Yeah.
But other than that, like they're pretty much similar.
But I mean, it's not like USHL is lacking superstars. There's plenty of superstars in the USHL too.
Yeah, for sure. But you probably won't see a Bedard or someone like that in USHL. They'll already be in college.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So
yeah. But it's interesting. For some reason on social media, if I'm looking at the different teams and before every game, they post the roster of this is the game, and every USHL team, I mean, I don't know. They're all college, NCAA college commits. It's full.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very rare that you see a roster that isn't 90% already NCAA D1 commits.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest difference, I would say. Like between NOL and the USHL.
Yeah.
Like in NOL, you'll probably see like 5 guys committed or something.
Yep.
Some teams less, some teams 7, 8, maybe. That's like the maximum. You'll see like 8, 9. But for example, like where I'm playing right now, BCHL, the team I'm in right now, I think we have like 18 commits.
Yeah.
So that like this, I would say BCHL is a very good league too.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second because I think that's going to be interesting. So, but you played USHL, and then did you get traded, or how did you end up in where did you go? You were in Omaha, and then you went to, what was the second team?
Waterloo.
Yeah, where is Waterloo? So Omaha, Midwestern state, very different
Yeah.
country than Stockholm. But then you ended up in Waterloo. Is that on the East Coast?
No, it's 2 hours east, pretty much.
Okay.
4 hours east of Omaha.
Okay. So you got traded there, right?
No. So we were too many imports.
Oh.
You can only have I think it's 4 or 5 imports in a team in USHL. So we were too many imports. So, and then the coach thought he didn't want me on the team, so then I had to go. And then Waterloo picked me up from the free market, or what do you call it?
Yeah, so you got released and then they picked you up in Waterloo.
Yeah.
And then you played there 15 games and then you ended up in the Knoll. So how was that? I mean, the business, so you got a firsthand experience of this is tough.
Yeah.
And then
great experience though. Like, I mean, you learn so much from that.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Is like I hope that you knew that, like, how tough USHL is, and when you look at how few Swedes that are really playing in the USHL, it's not a cakewalk.
No.
So how did you end up in Springfield in the Knoll? Was that kind of the same thing? You got released there in Waterloo?
Yeah, they like we had a great team in Waterloo, and then they got an offer to pick up another import.
Yep.
That was that was leading the totals, goal scoring in the whole league. So then I got released again. So, and then then I went to the Knoll to finish the year to get a lot more playing time.
Yeah. So how was that in terms of, what's the difference, would you say, between USHL and the North American Hockey League? This style of play.
I would say it's a lot faster in USHL. Everyone's better skaters, and the puck moves quicker. I mean, the passes is better. I would say USHL is just a lot better league.
Yeah. But it's younger, more skilled. North American Hockey League, older, perhaps more physical. Or is that, how would you describe the physicality aspect of it?
Maybe a bit more physical, but I definitely wouldn't exaggerate it and say that it's a lot more physical. Definitely depends, though. I was in the Midwest, I think it's called, division. The South division is apparently a lot more physical.
Yeah.
So I only know from the Midwest experience, and I would say it's definitely not that much more physical than USHL.
Yeah.
Because it's especially like in USHL, everyone's faster, so you're gonna get hit more. Like, people will be on you quicker when you retrieve the puck. So then you maybe get hit more compared to when I was playing in the Knoll, and you have that extra second, so then you can just move out of the way and not get hit. So it's probably a different experience for everyone. I don't know, but for me, Knoll wasn't that much tough, like that tough that I heard it was gonna be.
Yeah. So how was the experience then moving from, so you went from Omaha to Waterloo to Springfield, different cities, different billet parents or families. And
yeah,
so you got that experience behind you in your inexperience column to be able to say, come to a new place, a new city, be welcomed by someone, and you don't know if you're going to stay there for a long time or not. And then you have to say goodbye. And then you go to a new place, different, and hello, and new rink and new coaches, new team, and which is part of that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, within 1 year, you've gotten a lot of reps within that experience as well.
Yeah, I stayed with 4 different billets last year.
Yeah.
So definitely got the experience of some good billets and some maybe lacking not that good. I
Yeah.
mean, so
But you know it's temporary, so you're kind of like, all right, it's not perfect, but it's not as good as this place. Or you compare and contrast, but know that I'm here to play hockey, and you know,
yeah, it's definitely like you're kind of on your toes. It's hard to get that settle in a billet when you get that experience. So
yeah,
you definitely gotta try to try to feel at home. But
yeah,
it's hard. I mean, you shouldn't be in the mindset that you think that, oh, I'm just gonna get traded or dropped soon, so I shouldn't feel at home here. You gotta try to make yourself at home and try to make the best out of the time, even though you might feel that way. So, like for me right now, I'm here with a new build, new team. Like I'm not gonna be thinking that, oh, I'll pack my bags too.
yeah,
No, so it's you gotta like just. I'm just trying to get settled, feel at home, like make the most out of it every day at the rink and at home.
yeah.
So
And isn't that an important part too of the experience of growing as a person and building those relationships? And yeah, it takes effort to do that, but it's worthwhile to kind of to do for the long haul,
yeah,
to build those relationships. All right. So your first year in North America, all US, 2 different levels of juniors, 3 different teams, 4 billets, and then at the end of that season, so Springfield, did they go to they went to the playoffs, right? No?
no,
I thought that they did. I was trying to keep up with that back last season, and you know, cutthroat. But so you went home, and did you know where you were going to end up this year already?
no,
So
not at all.
talk about that for a second.
I mean, yeah, it's not a good feeling to like go home and be like, oh, I wonder where I'm going next year. So definitely just got to work on my game, craft it, and then just talked with advisors and tried to find what's my next move. Either if it's going back to Null or trying USHL or going. Then I mean, for some reason BCHL opened up. They just opened the so that imports can also come to this league.
Yeah,
That
which
just
was new.
opened a whole new world.
Yeah, which was new to last year, right? Or I
Yeah,
mean, new last year to this year.
exactly. So
And and, and explain
I
what was new about it, because in the past, not a lot of people know that the Canadian tier 2 leagues or junior A. Well, we're going to talk some other episode about the difference between tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, but you know, when you're looking at the provinces, BCHL being on the west coast of Canada, and then you move over to AJHL and all of those, you can't go. So if you were wanted to be as an import playing in the AJHL for Brooks Bandits, you can't,
no,
right? But BCHL broke free from Hockey Canada and that and wanted to be independent, and then opened up for imports. But there's still import restrictions, right?
yeah.
How many imports
Uh,
can you have on BCHL? I don't know.
that's a good question. I think it's 2.
Okay, so it's not
I
many.
think they no, I think they just opened up with 2 or something.
Okay.
I'm unsure, but
So when did you know that you were going to training camp there?
I mean, I think it was uh, like I think May or June,
Oh
something like
wow.
that. I was like, because I don't know exactly the date when they opened up, but I know that my advisors immediately knew that was the move for me
Yeah.
because it's a faster game than in the null and more skilled also. So
Would you compare it to USHL?
I would like for example this like the team I'm in is very stacked. We're good. So our prices, I would definitely compare it to more the USHL than all. Then
Yeah.
I know some other teams in the BCHL aren't that stacked. Like they only might maybe. I'm not saying that the commits make up if a team is good or not, but like it can give you a perspective of like what type of prospects they have and stuff. So,
Yep.
but like some teams only have like 5 commits, and for example, this team has like 18. So it's very different team to team.
And when you're saying commits, that's NCAA
Yeah,
D1 commits in the US, not U Sports Canadian college. We're talking NCAA commits.
yeah, D1
Yeah.
NCAA.
So I'm counting here, there's 17 teams in the BCHL, and Salmon Arm is one of them. I'm going to click on that. It's so good with Elite Prospects, but and yeah, you're the only Swede. I see some Americans in there, so they must have a different. They must have a different. They count Americans different than European imports.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how this develops because if it's going to go up or flat or go down in terms of number of D1 commits, but certainly going to be interesting.
No, it's definitely going to go up, considering they open up the borders for the league.
But and what's the eligibility? Because I think you could have O2s on the roster in Canada, right?
No,
No,
O3
you're the
is
oldest.
Yeah, I'm the oldest this year.
Okay, the Canadian system is so different. Different leagues and different one have different age requirements, and I wasn't quite sure of that. But so I'm looking at the roster. You got an 07 on your roster too. That's 4 years younger than you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty something.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a great player. I mean,
yeah.
they're very skilled. I mean, some guys are very skilled. You have to say.
All right. So let's go back a little bit. Let's talk last about the NCAA because you have committed to Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
And how did that come about? Because you mentioned that was already you committed after J20 in Sweden.
Yeah. So after my first year in J20, I committed after my time in Malmö. When that season ended, that's when I committed to Nebraska Omaha.
So how does that go? How does that go for, so who scouted you or was this how did that come about that you got an offer that early? Because you still have 2 more years of US Canadian junior eligibility.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was the advisors talking to them, and they watched plenty of video and everything. And I had a couple meetings with them, talked to them, and everything. It just felt like a great fit for me.
Yeah,
It felt like a great college, and I mean, for me, it was a no-brainer to want to go there. And they wanted me, so just felt like the right thing to do. So committed there, and we already knew that I was gonna go to the USHL draft.
Yeah.
And they liked that move too. That me going to USHL was a great move for my development, and then furthermore, then going to the college.
And then you had to go through the NCAA clearinghouse, and did you have to do like the TOEFL test and that kind of stuff too, or is that you haven't done that yet?
No, I haven't done that yet.
Okay, thinking back when I had to do it a long time ago. But how much was academics talked about at that time?
Not that much. They just asked like, what's my like? I said I have like a average CB.
Yeah,
yeah,
and they wanted to make sure that you're serious about going to college and no dummy.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. But now you're not going to school at this point, right?
No, just hockey this year.
So it's just hockey. And what about last year or after Swedish gymnasium? So you haven't taken any classes before that?
No.
So it's going to be a little bit of a transition to be going back to school again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But but all right, talk about this kind of last here, and that's what's the mindset then for playing in the BCHL when you know, I mean, lots can happen. If you got injured, I mean, there's no guarantee they could pull your scholarship and be like, yeah, we intended for you to go here, but now you're injured, so it's not a guarantee.
But yeah, no, it's not a guarantee. But after you sign the NLI,
Yep.
you know that you can get the scholarship.
So explain NLI. So the National Letter of Intent, right?
Yeah.
So that is, and is that binding just like in the drafts and so on? So no one else could offer you because you've already signed your National Letter of Intent. I think it is.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to contact you like other schools.
Yeah,
I'm
you
pretty sure
could decommit and commit somewhere else, but they can't.
they can't decommit you. The only thing they can do is tell you that you're not going to get any playing time if you go in.
Yeah,
And
and
then you will probably decommit by yourself.
yeah.
But I mean, you could all when you sign the NLI, you can always go to the school and get the scholarship if you have that.
Yeah. So how much time have you spent in Omaha, in Nebraska? I mean, have you been over there a lot because you were in the US?
Yeah, I mean, when I played for Omaha Lancers in the USHL,
Yeah.
same city.
Yeah.
So went to the college like 2 times and visited probably.
What was your impression in terms of, was that impressive even though you played at the highest level in Sweden and played at the highest junior levels in the US? What was your impression of what's it like to be a college athlete?
I mean, Omaha's facility is insane. It's top notch. I mean, Malmö is known for having like the best facility in SHL, and I would say I would almost want to give Nebraska Omaha, the university, the overhand there. That it was a bit better.
So you come in and the locker room, I mean, they're not ashamed of spending money in their locker rooms.
Yeah, no. No, it's yeah, the locker room is top notch, and they have 2 rinks. One small rink for practice and stuff if they want to use that, and they have a big rink with like 8,000 seats or something.
It's crazy.
I think also they're like 5th in like the total attendance average in the college.
Yeah.
Like I think they average like 5.5 thousand each game.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
For college hockey. I mean, it's what I think people should. When I was talking to Gabbe, he went to visit I think it was Quinnipiac on when he was 15, and that kind of gave him the inspiration of this is what I want to do. And it's a great breeding ground, or the ability, as you kind of saying, physically, you can go there, continue to work, play at an incredibly high level, and then go pro. Versus, how do you compare that to going early and fight at the Hockeyettan or Allsvenskan and
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely harder to take the steps. Like it's so hard to get stuck in Hockeyettan.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be like the best guy in the team and be playing for a good team, and you'll still not make Allsvenskan team.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to make from Ettan to Allsvenskan, and the same thing with making it from Allsvenskan to SHL.
Yeah.
And then from SHL to NHL, or if you want to go AHL and NHL. So it's a lot of steps you have to take.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be interesting. So what's your all right, since I mean, it's not that far removed, you're what, 20, are you 20? You're
19.
You're 19. So I normally ask this question to every guest, and that's, you met yourself at 17. Maybe we should tell you when you met yourself at 16 here, but what advice you've experienced a lot here in the last 3 years. What advice would you give yourself that you wish you knew back then that you know now?
Probably like make every day count, and never like don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
Just
That's not very Swedish.
No. Yeah, probably just like make every day count, and like always be confident, and like take like make sure to be present. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. All right, last question here, and that's we've got a partnership with Target Aid, which we're helping. Target Aid is helping different youth organizations with fundraising. We've got a platform on there, and one of the questions that we kind of highlight here, and that's they have an initiative or called Klubben i mitt hjärta, the team in my heart. So, if you're going to say this is the club in my heart, which one would that be?
I gotta say Örebro.
Örebro. I love it. I love it. We do have to talk about Leksand connection. You do have Hedberg that is there now in Örebro. We had Niklas Eriksson for many years, and Leksand is the breeding ground of success in Sweden. I had to throw that in there too, but no, it's good. It's good. Örebro. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight that under the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast Target Aid section, and we'll help Örebro with some content there and highlight that is the club in your heart, which is awesome. So, Marcus, thanks for coming on. It's been educational, talking about BCHL. Not a lot of people play there, and good luck in this year. And we'll bookmark you here in my elite prospects file, and we'll keep an eye on you as we get further in the season and then into next year in college.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thanks.